The day 1,000 American bombers blackened the skies over Berlin in early 1944 was the culmination of a relentless struggle to prove that precision daylight bombing could penetrate the heart of Nazi Germany, a feat that had seemed impossible just months earlier when earlier raids over Schweinfurt and Regensburg had resulted in staggering losses, with hundreds of B-17 flying fortresses and B-24 Liberators torn from the sky by swarms of Luftwaffe fighters and walls of anti-aircraft fire. Yet the United States' industrial machine had refused to be deterred, producing aircraft at a rate Germany could never hope to match, and training crews with a determination born of necessity, while factories across the nation churned out long-range P-51 Mustangs that could finally escort the bombers deep into the Reich, changing the dynamics of the air war and offering a new layer of protection and confidence to the men who faced what many considered a near-suicidal mission. Berlin was no ordinary city. It was the political, industrial, and symbolic heart of Hitler's empire, a sprawling metropolis bristling with armaments plants, rail hubs, and administrative centers that fed the German war machine, and its defense was commanded personally by the Führer, who had ordered that no enemy aircraft be allowed to penetrate its skies. Yet, by early 1944, the balance of resources had shifted inexorably in favor of the Allies. The 8th Air Force, operating from airfields across England, now possessed the strength, experience, and logistical capability to attempt a raid of unprecedented scale, and crews across East Anglia and the Midlands trained with tireless intensity, practicing formation flying, gunnery drills, and navigation over the North Sea, studying maps that traced every river, rail line, and city en route to the German capital, while mechanics labored through nights under blackout conditions to ensure that every rivet, engine, and bomb bay was prepared for the hours of flak and fighter attacks that awaited. The men understood the stakes and the risks. Casualty rates often exceeded 20% on deep missions, and completing 25 sorties, the standard tour of duty, was no guarantee of survival. But there was no hesitation when orders came down. Berlin would be struck, and the mission would test the very concept of daylight strategic bombing, combining industrial might with disciplined tactics in a coordinated assault never before attempted. Civilians in Germany had already endured years of RAF night raids, but the prospect of thousands of bombers arriving in broad daylight carried an entirely new terror. Air raid sirens sounded, and the Reich Ministry of Propaganda worked furiously to reassure the population, claiming Berlin's defenses were impenetrable. Yet whispers of fear spread through the city as citizens anticipated the impending storm. Allied planners meticulously timed the raid to exploit the long-range capabilities of the P-51 Mustangs, equipped with drop tanks to accompany the bombers all the way to Berlin and back, transforming the air campaign by forcing German fighters into prolonged engagements while reducing bomber losses. In England, the airfields teemed with activity. Ground crews loaded bomb bays with high explosives and incendiaries, engineers inspected every system, and pilots reviewed detailed briefings, rehearsing formations, bombing procedures, and emergency protocols, knowing that any error in the vast overlapping bomber stream could have catastrophic consequences. When dawn broke on the day of the raid, engines roared across dozens of airfields, B-17 and B-24s, lifting into the morning haze in staggered sequences, merging into combat boxes that stretched for miles over the English countryside. A breathtaking sight even to veterans, while fighter escorts climbed to their positions, weaving protective patterns around the lumbering bombers as the long flight over the North Sea began. Hours of droning engines tested endurance, with navigators confirming waypoints, gunners scanning the sky for threats, and pilots maintaining strict formation discipline, aware that a single deviation could spell disaster. Crossing the European coastline, the first flak erupted, black puffs blossoming around the bombers as German radar had already detected the incoming armada, and Luftwaffe interceptors scrambled to meet the formation, the scale of the American attack staggering even seasoned German pilots, who faced a wall of defensive fire from thousands of .50 caliber machine guns, while P-51s and P-47s aggressively hunted them before they could strike. The approach to Berlin was a slow, perilous advance through increasingly dense flak and fighter resistance, every turn a test of skill and nerves, every cloud of smoke a reminder of comrades lost moments before. Yet the massive formation pressed on, each crew member acutely aware of both the historical significance of the mission and the mortal danger that surrounded them. Over the city, the bomber's stream unleashed a torrent of destruction. Bombs fell on industrial complexes, rail yards, airfields, and munitions factories, igniting infernos that rose in plumes of black smoke, while precision targeting sought to paralyze the logistical arteries of the German war machine, though entire neighborhoods inevitably suffered as cascading explosions shattered buildings and streets alike. Inside Berlin, sirens wailed, civilians scrambled to shelters, and fire brigades struggled against flames that raced faster than they could be contained. The city convulsed under the onslaught, a vivid demonstration that no part of the Reich, not even its capital, was beyond reach. In the skies, American gunners and escort fighters fought desperate battles, with Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs falling in flames or plunging to earth as escorts and bomber gunners maintained relentless interlocking fields of fire. The chaos punctuated by the flashes of tracer lines and the roaring of engines, the air alive with death and survival in equal measure. The cost was immense. Dozens of bombers were lost, hundreds damaged, thousands of airmen killed, captured, or missing. Yet the mission succeeded in shattering the myth of Berlin's invulnerability and inflicting irreplaceable losses on the Luftwaffe, draining its ranks of experienced pilots, and weakening Germany's ability to defend its skies in the months to come. The journey home remained perilous, with damaged aircraft limping across hundreds of miles of hostile territory, gunners fighting frost and injury, pilots coaxing crippled machines across the North Sea. Yet the presence of escort fighters mitigated further losses and allowed a significant portion of the formation to reach England, where battered bombers touched down amid cheers from anxious ground crews. The raid's impact reverberated far beyond the immediate destruction. Allied commanders hailed it as validation of daylight strategic bombing on a massive scale. The psychological blow to Berlin's population was profound, and resistance movements across occupied Europe found renewed hope in the audacity of the operation. In the following months, lessons learned over Berlin shaped subsequent raids, as massive bomber streams repeatedly struck Germany's industrial and logistical centers, further depleting Luftwaffe resources and cementing Allied dominance in the air, ensuring that by the time D-Day arrived, the skies of Western Europe were firmly in Allied hands. For the men who flew that day, the memory of the endless engines, the flashes of anti-aircraft fire, the spinning contrails of dogfights, and the loss of comrades remained indelibly etched, a reminder of both the human cost and the historic significance of the mission. The 1,000-bomber raid on Berlin was not merely a single operation, but a turning point in the air war, a demonstration of industrial and tactical might, and a harbinger of the relentless pressure that would ultimately bring the Third Reich to its knees, leaving a legacy of courage, sacrifice, and the decisive impact of overwhelming air power in modern warfare.